Hi, everyone. I think we are live on all platforms. So I think we're live on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So hello. Feel free to write questions or comments. I should be able to see most of them. I believe if you are on a LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook, you're going to have to give the app permission to pull your name through. Otherwise, it'll just come through from my end as a user. So I won't know exactly who's asking me a question. We will roll with the technology. But I wanted to come on live and talk about really kind of expand on some conversations that I've been having with people probably about the last month or so, maybe more. But it's really people that are in sort of this, sort of a limbo scenario where they have not been laid off. So they are currently working. Most of the folks I've been talking to are currently in H-1B status. They are terrified that they're going to get laid off and the next round of layoffs. The company has said we are halting all green card applications. And they are afraid to move to another company because, as most people know, it's last in, first out. So they're afraid to move because that means they'll be first sort of on that layoff chopping block. But they're just kind of watching their time in H just tick down, and they're not getting any closer to their ultimate goal of a green card. So I wanted to talk tonight about self-sponsored green card applications, and that you can do a self-sponsored green card application. Some folks do absolutely qualify for them. For individuals that have been here in the United States for quite some time on their H-1B, they have developed, a lot of them, a really unique skill set. And so they may be eligible for a self-sponsored green card. So the first one we're going to talk about today that I've been getting a lot of questions about is the EB-1 Extraordinary Ability Green Card. This is the green card that is the first employment-based category. You can self-sponsor. Just because you can self-sponsor doesn't mean that your employer can't sponsor you. So for my employers out there, you can certainly sponsor people for Extraordinary Ability Green Card. So I don't want there to be any confusion about that. As an employer, you can absolutely sponsor someone under EB-1 category Extraordinary Ability. But for my employees out there who are worried, you can also see if you qualify to sponsor yourself. And you can do that while you are working with your current employer. So the EB-1 Extraordinary Ability criteria, there are 10 of them, okay? You must meet 3 of them. So there's one super big one, which frankly, I've only ever had one client ever in my years of practice who has met this criteria. And the big overarching criteria is that you have received an award that is so major and so international that everybody in the world knows what it is, right? So if you've gotten an Emmy, you've received a Grammy, you've received a Tony, that kind of thing, that says to the immigration service, you're pretty much the best thing since sliced bread in your field, and that is what they are looking for. So that's one. That's like sort of like the really big overarching criteria that you want to show that you're really kind of the best thing since sliced bread. But for those folks that don't have an Emmy, an Oscar, a Grammy, there are 10 criteria that they can show, 10 criteria that they can choose from, and they only have to show that they meet 3 of them. So I'm just going to go down them and just give you a list of what you can show, and kind of get your own sort of juices flowing in your own mind in terms of what you can show and what you and how you may in fact qualify. Now, for all of these 10, you must have documentation to back it up. So it is not at all helpful. I'm going to be so honest with y'all. It is not at all helpful if you don't have the documents to back up any of these criteria. So it's got to be something where you have tangible paper that I can submit to the Immigration Service showing how you meet 3 of these 10 criteria, okay? So the first one we're going to talk about is evidence of receipt of lesser nationally or internationally recognized prizes or awards of excellence. So when they say lesser, they're meaning lesser than the Grammy, lesser than the Tony, lesser than the Emmy, right? And your award can be industry specific. So, there are a zillion and one industries out there. Everybody has an award. Everybody has a way to recognize people in their industry, in their niche that are doing well, that are advancing in industry, advancing a niche, and moving it forward. Those are the types of awards that we would like to see. They can be nationally recognized, meaning nationally being in your home country, nationally being only in the United States, or they can be internationally recognized, right? So think outside the box, think broadly. The next thing that you can show, the next criteria is evidence of membership in associations in your field which demand outstanding achievement of their members. So these are not organizations where you sign on the dotted line, pay your fee, and you're in. These are organizations that require you to have reached a certain level within your industry, within your niche. Maybe it is some sort of invite-only organization. Maybe you have to have been in your niche or in your industry and practicing for 5, 10, 15 years before you can get in. Maybe it's something where you need to meet very specific criteria. Maybe you need to have had 15 different speaking engagements on, in 2 different countries and, written 4, journal, articles to get in, whatever the requirements are. It cannot be an organization where sign on the dotted line, tell us your name, and you're in. Those organizations are not going to cut it. These really have to be membership in organizations that demand outstanding achievement from all of their members, okay? The next criteria I want to talk about and sort of give you insight into is published material about you in professional or major trade publications or other major media. So this is not, to be clear, this criteria is not you talking about yourself. It is other people in your industry, whether they know you personally or whether they have never met you, but they've heard of your work, heard of how you are advancing your industry, heard of the great work that you are doing, heard of the super niche, amazing things that you are doing. So that is what we are looking for here. We are looking for third-party validation that you are, again, very legal term, the best thing since sliced bread. Now, I want to talk about how it says other major media. So I've been practicing for 25 years, and when I started practicing, social media wasn't a thing. We didn't have Instagram, right? We didn't have TikTok. We didn't have that. But now, other major media could, in fact, be the internet. There is a lot that is published on the internet. There are internet-only journals, internet-only, everything where things live and reside on the internet. So when we talk about other major media, that absolutely includes the internet. That absolutely includes internet-only journals, internet-only radio shows, internet-only podcasts, right? If there are people talking about you and what you do, and it's only on the internet, that's okay. That is where we are in today's age. So if you're in a slightly more traditional field, let's say you're a lawyer, you're going to do a lot of brief writing. You're going to do a lot of journal articles. Let's say you're a doctor, you're going to do a lot of journal articles. Let's say you're a researcher at a university, a lot of articles. That's going to be a lot of print. But those are also going to be, in some cases, in online only journals, and that's okay. So I love how it says other major media. It allows me and my team to be really creative. And so that's a great thing. The next thing I want to talk about is evidence that you have been asked to judge the work of others. So either individually or on a panel. So what immediately comes to mind for a lot of people is when they are, or their friends, they are defending their dissertation for their PhD, there is a panel of professionals. There is a panel of educators who are in front of them and who are essentially picking that apart and making them defend their thesis, their theories, and what they have written and what they have spent months and sometimes years researching. Those individuals that sit on that panel very much are individuals that are judging your work. Individuals that work at journals send out draft articles, send out articles for other professionals in the field to take a look at it, to rip it apart, to say, does this make sense? Is this something that we want to publish? Those individuals who are reviewing and picking apart and asking questions, those people are sitting in judgment, right? And judgment's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just showing that you have reached a certain level in your profession, in your career, in your industry, where people are reaching out to you to fact check something, to make sure that the whole piece makes sense, that the whole piece is really moving things forward. So that is really important, and you want to, kind of think about that. And it can be an internet only situation. The next thing is evidence of your original contribution or major significance to your field. So no matter what your field is, the goal is always to be advancing your field, to be advancing your specific niche within your field. And so I always ask my clients, I'm like, what are you doing? What have you done? What is it that makes you special at what you do? How are you moving things forward? So that is something that, again, I love because we can really think outside the box. So a lot of my clients come to me, they're in fields that I personally don't have a ton of knowledge on. I may not understand it, but I ask a lot of questions. And the reason I ask a lot of questions, and what seem like very basic questions, frankly, is so that I can fully understand what they're doing and who they are impacting and how they are impacting and how they are moving things forward. So we're going to think about that when we're talking about extraordinary ability, EB1, self-sponsored, because the Immigration Service really wants to understand what is it that you're doing, who is it that you're impacting, and how are you advancing your field forward. The next thing we're going to talk about is evidence of your authorship or scholarly articles in a professional or major trade publication, again, or other major media. So are you writing? Are you producing things? Where is it being done? Can we put our hands on it? Can we show the Immigration Service that you are, in fact, moving things forward, that you are out there, that people know who you are, and that they respect your work? Next prong that we can show, remember, we only have to show 3 of these 10. So we don't have to show all of them. But if you're my client and you satisfy 5 of them, I'm going to talk about 5 of them. So I always say to my clients, the more, the merrier, right? The next one is evidence that your work has been displayed somewhere. And this is really, a lot of this is for our more artistic people. Are you like a famous singer? Are you a famous pianist? Where can I see your work? Where can I see your work displayed? But also for entrepreneurs, where can I see your thoughts? Do you have white papers that have been published? Where can I see the product of what you are doing? And so that is something that, again, we got to think a little bit outside the box when we are doing those, okay? The next thing that we can show is evidence that you command a high salary. So, and that doesn't mean that it is the highest salary that you personally have ever made It doesn't mean that your mom and dad think that you're making a lot of money. It means when we look at other people that are similarly situated in your industry, are you making more? Are you making significantly more than them? So that is really just simply a numbers game, y'all. It's a numbers game. But luckily, it's a numbers game that a lot of my clients actually meet. So we come in sort of off the gate already meeting two of the three that we need to meet, and then we get to choose out of the 10. And then the last one is evidence of your commercial success. How are you successful? How do we know? Look, how do we define success within your industry? And that's something I don't know when my clients come in the door. That's something that they have to tell me. So they tell me so that I can then, when I'm drafting the brief, tell the immigration service, so that when they read the brief and they see all the supporting documents, that they really understand what's happening, that they understand who you are, what you do, who you impact, and how you are creating this amazing impact. So that is EB1. So EB1 is EB1 green card, extraordinary ability. It is right now a great option for individuals that are worried about their green cards, that maybe are on hold or not, or haven't even been started by their current employers because of the current economic situation. It's a great option for individuals that are worried about being laid off, and they're too afraid to move to another company. One of the reasons they are a really great option right now is because the visa bulletin for most countries is current for EB1s, which means we can file not only your EB1 application, we can also file your adjustment of status or your green card application. So we file those together, and then we let those process at the agency. And as long as the visa bulletin remains current, your green card application, once we get your I-140 approved, we can get your green card approved. And we can do that again, you can self-sponsor. So that is such a great way to kind of, take control of your own outcomes, your own career here in the United States. So just make sure that you keep that in mind. The next self-sponsored green card, employment-based green card that I want to talk about is the national interest waiver. That is in the second employment-based category, so it's an EB2. EB2 folks, the position itself requires a minimum of a master's degree. For national interest waiver, if you don't have a master's degree or the US equivalent of a master's degree, you can show that you have exceptional ability, okay? That is a little bit more onerous to show, but that is something that we can certainly take a look at and see if that's what you qualify for. But for tonight, we're going to assume that you have a master's degree from a US institution or from overseas, but it is the equivalent of a US master's degree. So when we are looking at national interest waivers, we are looking at individuals that are in a career, a niche, what they are doing has the ability to have national impact in the United States. So the first criteria is that what you are doing, your proposed endeavor, has both substantial merit and national importance. And it is important to say, I think it is crucial to say, that no one particular industry or job is better suited or, is automatically going to be approved for a national interest waiver green card, right? Anybody is eligible, any industry is eligible, but we need to show that you meet the requirements, right? So don't think that just because you're not in a STEM field, science, technology, engineering, and math, that you're not going to get your you're not going to get your national interest waiver application approved. That is just simply not the case. So the first criteria is that you are engaged in an endeavor that is of both substantial merit and national importance. The second is that you as an individual are well positioned to continue in this particular niche, job, industry, career path that you have chosen once the green card is issued, right? Because it doesn't really meet the criteria, doesn't really meet sort of the spirit of the national interest waiver if you're in this great field and then your intent is to end or quit once you get your green card, or you're not really poised and like you don't really have the ability to do this, right? So national interest waiver has to be more than an idea, more than a concept of what you want to do. You really have to have the background in order to do it. So do you have the education that is necessary to do what you say you want to do, or to do what you say you can do? Do you have that education? Do you have that experience? Do you have the funding? Do you have a job offer in order to do this? Do you need a job offer? If you don't need a job offer, have you started your own business? Do you have plans to start your own business? If you do have plans to start your own business, do you have a business plan? Like, the Immigration Service wants to see that you can move this career path that you have chosen, and that you are telling the Immigration Service, what I'm doing is amazing, like truly amazing, and can impact the entire United States, right? Or has that ability to do that. But if you don't have a plan to back that up, the Immigration Service is going to be like, I think not, right? So are you well positioned to move your own chosen endeavor forward? So if you are, then we get to the next and the last criteria, which is, on balance, would it be beneficial? Is it in the interest of the United States? Is it in the interest of the country to waive the usual EB-2 requirements, which include, one, having a job offer, being sponsored by a specific employer, and two, having that employer complete the labor certification process, which is getting a prevailing wage, advertising and recruiting for U.S. citizen employees, and then showing the Department of Labor that there is no U.S. citizen who is qualified, right? Is what you are doing so beneficial and so amazing that the Immigration Service says, you know what, we're going to waive these requirements. We're going to waive the fact that you normally have to have an employer sponsoring you, and we're going to waive the fact that we're going to waive the requirement of the employer to actually recruit for U.S. citizens. That is a huge ask. That is a huge ask in national interest waiver. So you must have the criteria. You must meet the criteria in order to be national interest waiver, in order for the Immigration Service to waive those very fundamental EB-2 second preference employment requirements. What I really like about national interest waiver is, unlike EB-1, extraordinary ability, it doesn't give you a very specific list of 10 things that you can choose from. It gives you 3, right? And it gives you 3, but they're all written very, very broadly. So if you are an outside of the box thinker, if you're, that is really helpful. So I like this category because it allows you to really think outside the box. It allows you to really explain to the Immigration Service who you are, what you do, who you think you're going to impact, and why you think what you can do, why you think your ability will impact the entire nation, or has that ability to impact a significant number of people in the country. So for both national interest waiver, which is EB-2, and EB-1, extraordinary ability, I think, and the way that I craft my applications in my office, in my law firm, I think it's super important to have support letters from colleagues in your field, colleagues who know you, who know your work, who know the history of your work, the progression of your work, as well as, if we can get them, support letters from people that have never met you, but only know of your work. We always try to look for individuals that are within my client's industry and reach out to them and say, hey, have you heard of my client? Oh, great, you have. What have you heard about them? And, if they start gushing about my client, then we ask them, my client says, hey, would you mind, here's what I'm trying to do. Would you mind writing a letter? I've never had anyone say no to one of my clients when they've asked them that, because they are so impressed by what my client does and how they have impacted the industry. So I really like to get support letters. I think they are super helpful. And frankly, they are from people that do not have an interest in this application getting approved. And that, I think, goes a long way with the Immigration Service. I can say my client's the best thing since sliced bread. The Immigration Service expects me to say that of my client. My client can say they're the best thing since sliced bread and they're amazing. The Immigration Service expects that. The Immigration Service, I think, really starts to listen and believe when we have disinterested parties who are willing to put their name and their reputation on the line and say, I think this person's really great at what they do. I think they are an asset to our industry, to our career path. They have made some major strides. So those letters, I think, go a very, very long way. So that, y'all, is what I wanted to talk about this evening, because I know, because I've gotten a lot of calls, that people are feeling super anxious and really nervous, and they're feeling tied to their employers, and they're not quite sure what to make of that and where to go and what to do. So I wanted to give people a safe place to listen, because I know I'm probably not going to get a whole lot of questions, because I know people don't want the person they share cubicle with, or their bosses or their employers in general, to know what's going on, to know that they're listening. And I totally get that. I do not take it personally, but I wanted to make sure that we had this information out there for y'all specifically, just because I can hear the anxiousness when I speak to people. So I wanted to come on and really just give you this information. And so, of course, you are welcome to reach out to the office. You can reach us at 954-903-1337. You can click the link in the bio. You can schedule a consultation. You can shoot us a DM. We will get you scheduled for a consultation. We are more than happy. During that consultation, what we do is we take a look at how we think you may meet the criteria. We will send you, sort of a list of those criteria ahead of time, have you kind of do a little bit of thinking in terms of what documents you think you already have. And then I'm going to dig during that consultation to see if we can get you to a place where you and I feel comfortable with filing this application, and hope, and get just to a point where we think we can be successful in the application. And if we can't, maybe there are some other options that we have for you. So we certainly talk about this as well. But again, you are welcome to drop a private message, whether you're listening on or watching this on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. We certainly do take a look at those, but I wanted to get this information out there to you all. I don't see any questions. I didn't think I would. I don't expect y'all to out yourselves, because I do know that employers and employees watch me and hang out and send me messages and questions. So that's great. But again, I'm Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, boutique immigration law firm located in sunny South Florida, but serving clients nationwide as well as internationally. So if you have any questions, you want to set up a consultation so that we can walk through EB1 extraordinary ability or EB2 national interest waiver, let me know. We're happy to do that, and have a fantastic evening. Bye, everybody.